Here's a question that pretty much everyone has asked themselves at some point. Are our lives already written out for us, or do we actually have free will? It's one of the biggest questions there is. And in this explainer, we're going to dive into how Islamic theology tackles this, and it reframes the whole thing in a really fascinating way. Let's get into it.
This question, asked over 1,400 years ago, just cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? If the end of the story is already written, who gets to paradise, who goes to hell, then what's the point of anything we do? Why even bother trying? Why make choices? That's the huge paradox we're going to unpack today.
All right, so how do we even begin to answer a question that big? Well, the source material we're looking at starts by framing our entire existence in a very particular way, as a test. A cosmic test that we, as humanity, actually volunteered for.
According to the Quran, this trust, which is basically the heavy responsibility of having free will and being held accountable for it, was first offered to the heavens, the earth, and the mountains. And they all said, no, thanks. They were afraid of its weight. But humanity, we stepped up and accepted it. We actually chose to be here, to take on this incredible trial.
Now, what's really interesting here is the language the source uses. The Quran describes humanity in that moment as being a tyrant and ignorant. And you might hear that and think, wow, that sounds harsh. But it doesn't mean we're inherently evil. It's more like we were, naive. We totally underestimated the massive difficulty and the serious consequences of the test we were so eagerly signing up for.
Okay, so if life is a test, what does the exam actually look like? Well, the source breaks it down as a choice between two basic paths. But, and this is key, there's a huge twist.
And here is the core challenge of the whole test. The path that leads to paradise, it's hidden behind things that feel hard. Things our lazy, comfort-seeking side doesn't want to do, like waking up for early prayers, fasting when you're hungry, or telling the truth when a lie is easier. But the path to hell, that's cleverly disguised by things that seem easy and feel good, just following our immediate desires, grabbing at worldly pleasures, no questions asked. The right path often feels tough, and the wrong one feels like a breeze.
Which naturally makes you wonder, right? Knowing how hard it is, why on earth would anyone agree to this? What could possibly be worth all that struggle? The source gives this really brilliant analogy to explain it. Imagine someone told you that if you just stand up for a 3-hour train ride, no sitting, just 3 hours on your feet, the government will give you and your family a lifetime of total security. A house, education for your kids, everything, forever. Who wouldn't take that deal? We accept a little short-term pain for a massive permanent reward. This life, the analogy suggests, is that 3-hour train ride.
Okay, so let's dig a little deeper, because the scale of that reward and the cost of failing this test is almost impossible for us to wrap our heads around.
To really put the stakes into perspective, the source brings up this incredible metaphor. Picture this. You dip your finger into the ocean and then pull it out. See that one single drop of water clinging to your fingertip? That's this entire life, everything you know. And the rest of the ocean, all of it, that's the afterlife. That is the scale we are dealing with. The test is so temporary, but the result is eternal.
And when you see it like that, this famous saying starts to make a lot more sense. For a believer, someone who's focused on the ocean, the discipline and rules of this life can sometimes feel like a prison. But for someone who thinks this life, that little drop, is all there is, well, then this world becomes their paradise, and they'll try to squeeze every last bit of pleasure out of it, with no thought for what comes next.
Okay, now this is where it gets really intense. The source material paints this incredible picture to show just how final and absolute the results of this test are. It gives us two scenarios from the Day of Judgment.
First, just imagine the person who had the absolute worst life on earth, a life of nothing but poverty, sickness, and pain, but they never lost their faith.
So God tells the angels to just dip this person into paradise for a single moment, just one. And when they come back, God will ask them, did you ever have any hardship in your life? And that person will say, I swear by you, I have never known a single moment of pain. One instant of that bliss completely erases a whole lifetime of suffering.
Now, flip that completely on its head. Think about the person who had the best life imaginable: wealth, power, indulging every single desire, and totally ignoring God.
This person is dipped into hell for just one moment. And when they come back, God asks, did you ever experience any good in your life? And they'll reply, I swear by you, I have never known a single moment of ease. 1 second of that punishment just wipes away the memory of a lifetime of fun.
So, wow.
The stakes could not be higher, which brings us right back to where we started. Back to that original question. If our final destination is already written, then why act? How is any of this a fair test?
And here it is, the answer given in the source. It wasn't some long, complicated philosophical explanation. It was actually incredibly simple and really profound. The advice was just act. Keep doing good things, because your actions themselves reveal which path you're on. If you find it easy and natural to do good, that's a sign the path of paradise is being smoothed out for you. And if you find it easy to fall into bad habits, well, that's a sign of the other path. So the whole thing hinges on understanding the difference between destiny and choice. Destiny, in this view, is all the stuff you have zero control over. Where you were born, who your parents are, what you look like, the color of your eyes. You're not going to be judged for any of that. But your choices, that's the real test. That is what you are accountable for. Do you choose to be grateful, or do you complain? Are you generous, or are you stingy? Do you seek out the truth, or just ignore it? These choices, this is the stuff that shapes your entire journey.
And to make sure the test is totally fair, the source stresses that we weren't just thrown in here blind. Guidance was sent down, prophets, holy books, to make the right path super clear, so that no one can stand on the day of judgment and say, hey, nobody told me, I didn't know.
So if we put it all together, what do we get? Here's the big takeaway. Destiny, or Taqdeer, isn't some fixed script that turns you into a puppet with no control. Think of it more like a divine system that has two built-in paths, and your free will. Every single choice you make just determines which of those two paths becomes smoother and easier for you to walk down.
And that leaves us with the one question that really matters. The one for you, for me, for everyone. The point isn't to sit around and try to guess what's already been written for us. The point is to look at our lives right now, our habits, our choices, our actions, and ask ourselves, honestly, which path am I making easy for myself?